Okay, you've set your wedding date and now you're thinking about selecting your photographer. It's really important to choose carefully, as once your wedding is over and you're back from your honeymoon, those photos provide the memories of your special day. So it's important to find the right person to take them. Remember to do your research. There are a huge number of photographers out there, all offering a variety of styles, prices and packages. There are a number of ways in which you can make sure you select a suitable and professional photographer who will do a great job for you.
I would say make sure you visit the photographer, you know his setup, you know they're fully running everyday studio, so they're familiar with taking photographs all the time. It's not just like a weekend job. Make sure usually that they've been recommended, that's usually a good sign.
My advice to brides and grooms when choosing a photographer is, as I've sort of said time and time again, make sure the photographer that you meet is the photographer that's going to shoot your wedding.
You go and see their studio, so you're not just working from home and they've got a job during the week, make sure they're full-time. But if they're a full-time photographer, their business is on the line. If they do a bad job, then they lose their business.
Meeting the photographer is absolutely priority. Wedding photography is a two-way street. It's about personalities as well as the photography that's going to happen. The last thing that you want is a photographer who upsets your guests on the day because of a conflict of personality, not necessarily because of anything else, but they're just not, they wouldn't be someone that you would initially invite to your wedding day.
I think it's really important that you actually meet the photographer that's going to come out on the day, because you hear a lot of people that speak to one photographer and then a completely different one sent out and they're not happy with that person. And that's what I was saying about the pre-wedding photographs. It's important you come in and you meet everyone and actually get on with the photographer that's going to be photographing your wedding.
You'll be spending a fair amount of time with your photographer, so make sure whoever you choose is someone you feel relaxed and at ease with. Start your search by asking friends and family for any recommendations. Ask wedding coordinators or planners at your venue who they might recommend. They should be able to provide you with a few names. Another suggestion is to take a look at the website of the Master Photographers Association, www.thempa.com. The MPA is the only professional body for full-time qualified photographers. Each member follows a code of conduct and is suitably insured. But do be aware there are some great photographers out there who are not members of this group. Some people don't deem it necessary to be a member of the MPA and ask couples to judge them on the standard of their portfolio and through recommendations.
With the formal side of photography, you will have group photographs. You will always have a photograph of, say, the bride and the mum, bride and dad, those type of things. You'll always have all the groups. You'll make sure that a good photographer will make sure that you see each person in a group photograph. He will organise the wedding so as it goes through in a traditional way. So whatever time your meal is, that's the time you sit down for your meal. Whereas with reportage style, you have that side, but if you only have that side, you won't get photographs so much of posed mum and bride and dad and bride. You won't get those reportages as much unless you're lucky enough that he or she is taking a photograph at that time when you're together. So that's why you need the two together to actually make it a more interesting album. So if you just have traditional, it can be very formal. If you have just reportage, you can miss certain aspects that in years to come you'll regret. If you haven't got a photograph of you and your nan, you might regret that in years to come.
I tend to mix formal with casual. I think it's important to have a skeleton of sort of formal shots through the album just to set the story of the day. But they can be minimised. You can have a minimal amount of formal shots and then have a little bit more sort of casual coverage, so it's more of a story of the day.
I actually think nowadays it is actually really important to have two photographers at a wedding because especially when you're having the Italian albums and people do want the natural style as well, because the formal photographer can't be expected to get the reportage shots at the same time because he's so busy organising groups and dealing with things like laying out the dress. He can't be expected to kind of capture little things going on outside of his box that he's working in.
I think the formal photographs these days probably are less fashionable. Personally, I think it works to utilise a minimal amount of formal but mix it in with some casual. It gives you a better story, a better collection of images of the day. I think it's important to choose a professional photographer that is a full-time photographer and this is what they do for their living. I wonder about the commitment of people that are perhaps doing it just at the weekend when they're doing another job in the week. Is it as important to them? Those of us that are in the industry, and it is our full-time profession, we feel very, very passionately about it, very passionately, because obviously this is our sole income and to pay our mortgages and to pay our salaries. So it's important that we are professional, respectable, on time. We want people to recommend us to other clients. So it's very, very important to have somebody that is really bothered about what they're doing. And it's important that you are recommended to other clients.
Everybody has a budget. Everybody has their own budget. And if they have to spend as much as they can possibly afford on a photographer, it is the only bit they keep afterwards is a lot of their memories and everything. If they don't pay as much as they can for what they can afford, they can end up with a bad photographer. It doesn't mean they will end up with a bad one, but everyone has to start somewhere. But everybody has a budget that they can afford, and if you can afford to go for an expensive photographer, normally you will get a more experienced photographer who knows how to deal with people and how to get good results and make sure the lighting is correct.
And for that extra bit of money, it makes such a difference, because it is the only thing from the entire day that you do get to keep and look back on and show people and show your children and grandchildren and pass it down. So it's nice, it's important.
You're dancing with death by booking on price. Generally, the people that are more expensive are more experienced.
Make a short list. Don't skimp on payments. Experienced and decent photographers will not be cheap. Paying more sometimes means paying for quality. An inexperienced photographer may be cheaper, but they may not be able to provide the same service and standard of work. Good photographers also get booked up early, so be prepared to go with your second or third choices. Visit your first choice photographer to meet them in person. After all, you'll be inviting them to your wedding, so it's important to feel comfortable with them. More importantly, ask to view samples of their work, ask for a full quote and to see a contract.
Within the industry, I think it's hard sometimes for people to appreciate what we do and how we do it, because everybody owns a camera. I don't suppose there's a household without one, even if it's just a camera on your phone. And I think some people perhaps lose the value of a professional photographer, and it's not until something goes radically wrong that they realise how important it actually is. With the wedding, people are spending a lot of money on everything that contributes to the day. So whether it's the invitation, the shoes, the clothes, the flowers, the cars, the venue, the food, the drink, they're spending a lot of money on everything. But it's the photography and the videography that capture all that perfectly and are the lasting memories forever and ever.